So the question becomes, is Jeffrey Epstein in Eyes Wide Shut? I suggest yes. Yes, Jeffrey Epstein is in Eyes Wide Shut, depending on how you look. And Ghislaine Maxwell is also in Eyes Wide Shut. Robert Maxwell, her father, may also very well be in Eyes Wide Shut. And I think if you look closely, the markings on Marion Nathanson, who represents the daughter of some very wealthy, significant figure, of whom Bill Harford makes house calls. The house calls, which are denoted as the lever that gets the invitation to the party that leads to the other party. And the house call where Lou Nathanson dies. And now we look at the red cloak and we think, does it look like Robert Maxwell? Does it look like Lou Nathanson? Have we seen Epstein, a figure of Jeffrey Epstein in the film? And how such? And what role does that figure play? And if we can imagine an ecosystem within this world, this sphere, where Bill Harford and Alice Harford exist, and who is Lou Nathanson, and who was Robert Maxwell in real life, and who was, Ghislaine Maxwell, who is she, who was Epstein? How about the distance between the mansion where Kubrick lived and the mansion where Maxwell lived, but less than an hour and a half? I mean, you could get there in probably an hour if you were flooring it. You think that Kubrick and Maxwell didn't know each other? Of course they did. Of course they did. They were alive during the same time, totally relevant during the same time. Maxwell was doing his thing, making his bid for political power, for, economic sustainability, even though he's running a, Ponzi scheme from the ground up, recruiting all types of, simps, people who are willing to play the role, willing to step in and be a lever in the larger ecosystem. Count Bill Harford among them. Count Jeffrey Epstein among them. So we look even at the behavior of Alice as she thinks, wow, okay, Lou Nathanson is dead. We all know who Lou Nathanson is. This represents the figure that is at the center. So we look at, Marion Nathanson, Marion meaning Little Mary, the little virgin, and a significant symbol of her fiance, her boyfriend, who is a math professor, and so is Jeffrey Epstein, who kind of resembles Carl in this film. And why wouldn't Kubrick? You think Kubrick didn't know Epstein? He lived 90 minutes or less from Robert Maxwell. He was in and among those who were in the know. Knowledgeable, smart people, cultured people, thinking people, people of ideas, sure, money. Yeah, I mean, people got money. It comes and it goes, but people who are on the edge of the, the know, this is who, Kubrick was. Maxwell was all up in that. You think that Maxwell figures as such don't appear in other Kubrick's work, work from Kubrick. Here we see, Marion, the little virgin, the little Mary, who is the daughter of the now dead, of whom I would imagine that Kubrick probably knew, maybe even, visited upon his death. Did he attend his funeral? Had major mansions as such, But looking at the, just the film and I'm not here to skewer Kubrick. That's not the intention here. It's more so to say, is Epstein in Eyes Wide Shut? Is he in Eyes Wide Shut? Is he Carl, the math teacher, the math professor? The boyfriend of the daughter of the now dead former spy, former wholly integrated into all of the ecological, machinations of, what? Take your pick. Prostitution, child trafficking, abuse, whatever, what is it? Racketeering, RICO, all of it. What type of mob stuff is is being exemplified through this scene? Because it always seems like a type of like subtly innocuous scene. Like, okay, why are we visiting this family, this home? Well, they're wholly. If there's a world where Bill Harford is exploring through the sexual kind of, innards and underpinnings and underworkings and imaginations of it all, there are people who govern that, who structure it. There are, men and women and, different generations of men and women and, daughters and fathers and, knowledge systems, across sectors who are sharing this information. And I'm going to suggest that Marion Nathanson killed her father. I think she killed him. I think she suffocated him with a pillow, because she wonders that she always feared not, when it was going to happen, but how, implying her guilt, saying that she knew that one day she just knew she was going to kill her dad. She had to kill him. So how did Robert Maxwell die? And what do we look at Ghislaine, and do we see resemblances of her in Marion? It was actually going to happen in his death itself. She fears, that she was going to kill him all along. She knew it. Did Epstein have anything to do with that? They were boyfriend and girlfriend. The dissolving from scene to scene also shows us that Marion is also part of the mind of the city, and part of the mind of the governance of all the kind of civics and the economic kind of governance that goes forth, because her father is as such. The rich and wealthy, those who live in those mansions, who are wholly and totally integrated into the policy and practice making of the civic society, including the nefarious, subaltern sides of things